Hey everybody. So we're doing week 14 and it's diminishing negative Auric programs. This is a very general protocol, and it is the only protocol that has a single oil. Everything else is a blend, but here we're using aloes. And aloes is a very fancy oil. It's used in a lot of spiritual practices. I mean, for example, it was what was placed on the body of Christ when they took his body off the cross. They put aloes and myrrh on his body. It's usually burned as a like an incense. It's used as an anointing oil. It's used in high-end fragrances. It's one of the most adulterated oils on the market. And, I take a bunch of extra steps to make sure I always get um, genuine material. And there's different grades of it, you know. There can be some pretty fancy ones that are even aged up to 40 or 50 years. And the thing that's amazing about it is, it just helps clean things out of the field. It helps to clean things out of your aura, out of your energy body, out of the mind, out of the nervous system. And so it's good for just a general approach to cleaning up the auric programs. Sometimes you might be doing something and you're like, I'm not quite sure which one I should be using. You could use that, or, you want to add it into other protocols, you can do that as well. And so, you know, I always joke my favorite oil is the one that's in my hand. Like whatever's in my hand, I'm like, this is one's my favorite. Aloes is my favorite, even when it's not in my hand. Or at least it's top five. It's probably number one, but like definitely in the top five. Poplar, that, tuberose, uh, you know, the rest is up for debate. But so anyway, you could use this to treat physical things. You could use it to treat psychological things. You could also use this for spiritual practices or things that you want to enhance in that area, including intuition, clairvoyance, things of that nature. So, like, say you're working something, you're like, "Ah, there's this pattern in my life. I'm not quite sure what it's tied to, or, this could be one of the things that you do for that." And so, with that, let's pull out your aloes and let's begin inhaling. Your awareness is on the left side of your body, on the left side of your body, on the side of your face, your left neck, your left shoulder, your left ribs, your left hip, all the way down to the left outer ankle. Yeah. That I'm gonna keep talking while you're doing this. The aloes that we use a lot is considered a C grade. It's like an everyday aloes. But the really fancy stuff, there's like an A grade, an A plus grade. Um, yeah, if you have that, you can totally use that. It just wasn't cost effective to put it in the kit because it's super expensive. But I mean, the fancier stuff is more potent. And so the aloes that's in the kit is still very effective. It's just, you know, fancier things are a bit more potent usually. It's funny because aloe C is still considered super fancy. It's just, you know. So you're on the left side of your body. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Now, move your awareness to the front side of the body. Your awareness is on the whole front side. And awareness is on the front side of the body. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. The right side of the body. Your awareness is on the whole right side. Right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, right hip, all the way down the outer leg to the right outer ankle. The whole right side of your body. Right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, all the way down to the right outer ankle. And the back side of the body, the whole back side. Back of the head and neck, your whole back, your hips, down the backs of your legs to your heels. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths on the whole backside of your body. And then just pause and let go. Pause and let go. Okay, so that is the standard approach. That's something that you can do on a daily basis. You can add it into other protocols, or you can integrate it into what we call a stack, where you take, anywhere from 3 to maybe 5 or 6 Auric programs and do them together in a bunch, right? A grouping. But here we're going to do the advanced approach, which is something you might only do once or twice a week. It's a much more potent form of the process. And, the reason you're only doing it once or twice a week is it takes a little bit for your energy body to process it. So you do it, and then you can do the standard approach as maintenance in between. So we're going to start with the left side of your body. You're going to take nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the left side. Left side of your face and neck, your left shoulder, hip, ankle, the whole left side. And then the back side of your body, the whole back side. Back of the head and neck, your whole back, your hips, down the backs of your legs to your heels. The right side of your body, right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, all the way down to the right outer ankle. The whole right side of your body. And then the front side of your body. The whole front side. The whole front side of your body, your face, chest, abdomen, down to the tops of your feet. And then just pause and be still. Now, begin inhaling. Your awareness is on your knees. Your awareness is on your knees. It could be the whole knee or just the back side of the knee. This is where a minor chakra is. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the knees. Taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Then do your ankles, either your whole ankle or the front side of your ankle. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your awareness is on your ankles. And then the soles of your feet. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the soles of your feet. How's this feel? Nice. And then just pause. Pause and let go. Again, you're inhaling. Your awareness is on the left side of your body, left side of your face and neck, your left shoulder, all the way down to the left outer ankle. The whole left side of your body. Front side of your body, the whole front side, your face, chest, abdomen, all the way down to the tops of your feet. Your whole front side of your body. The right side of your body, right side of your face and neck, your right shoulder, all the way down to the right outer ankle. Whole right side of your body. And the back side of the body, the back of the head and neck, down the whole back, your hips, all the way down to your heels, the whole backside. And just being still, just being still. Just being still. Okay, the last little piece, which has to do with somaticizing. We're wanting to purify the old stuff that has been physicalized in the body, but we want to anchor in this new program or this new version of the program. So your awareness is on the brain. You're taking nice, long, slow, deep breaths with your awareness on the brain. And your awareness is on the spine. Your awareness is on the spine. Nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Your spine and your brain both at the same time. And then the brain and soles of your feet. The brain and soles of your feet. And as you inhale, move your awareness up above the ankles. As you exhale, down into the earth. Then just pause and be still. Pause and be still. Notice your body, your thoughts, and that make you feel. I did things down a bit, yeah. So let's go ahead and share, ask questions. You can unmute yourself, you can type in. We're going to do Auric programming, shares, and questions for just a few minutes, and then we'll jump into our normal Q&A.
Go ahead, Dan, then Denise.
Hey, Dan.
Hey, God, it's always an amazing experience with this aloes.
Isn't it amazing? Yeah.
Oh gosh, it just like slowed everything down. It
I
just,
literally watched Samantha just go from, I wouldn't say I mean, she was running errands and stuff. And so she wasn't going 90 miles an hour. She was going 50, but she was at idle when we were done.
yeah, yeah. This is just amazing. It's such a, it's a oneness thing. It's
Yeah,
totally,
I would agree.
yeah,
You know, one of the things that, was an old school thing with aloes is, you know, I would say way back, people didn't really know, like, there's some therapeutic things, but people really know what to do with it because there was a lot of spiritual aspects to the aloes. But I have this medical aromatherapy, like old school medical aromatherapist, and like his go-to thing was he would just put like a drop or two in his hands and kind of rub them together and kind of hold them like this, and then he'd just go like this, and he would always say, "By the time my hands get to the back of my head, I don't remember the day." Like, like however stressful or however crazy it was. So it was his like thing, like when he would have a really bad day, he'd put his hands and then he'd just, ugh. And he'd almost make it like a little bit of a ritual or something. And I gotta say, I tried it a few times. It does. It just wipes the slate clean. It's like
Wow.
your mind just goes to this neutral place. And you know, he was thinking of it like is for like a bad day or a stressful day, but how many times is it just that we have just a normal grind that we're used to, but it's nice to shake it off sometimes. You know what I mean? It wasn't necessarily a bad day, wasn't necessarily a good day, but it's still just the ins and outs of our daily or weekly things we have to do for work or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
just to be able to shake that off from time to time and just kind of have a moment where that's not consuming the day, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
The grinder. Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Life is very fast paced these days. And so that, you try to take like an hour and just go like, I'm just stepping away from everything. It's great in theory, but unless you do some sort of breathing practice or meditation or use some oil, it's really hard to achieve.
Hmm.
And, like I think we all have our little go-to things that are, our favorites. And this is part of why aloes has always been one of my favorites is, man, I can inhale it. And even in the middle of like a day where I'd go, oh, this is not a great day, you know. Like it just changes my perspective and like, okay, well, shake it off. Tomorrow's a different day, whatever it is. Um, it at least helps me approach the difficulty in ways I probably wouldn't have done had I not done that. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like I would have
I
been
totally get it.
a little
Yeah.
bit more
Yeah.
reactive or a little bit more like consumed. Because I'd say like there's an idea of like kind of detachment or disentanglement. Like you know, yes, it helps you with perspective, but it's like it's just totally different perspective. So then your reactions, your thought processes, your behaviors are different.
Yeah.
And you do
Yeah.
that enough. And, it's like here we're talking about the Auric programming. You do that enough, and all of a sudden you've broken out of some pattern. And, you know, a lot of our responses are tied to previous experiences. And so you just keep breaking out of that.
Right. Right. Is this, the first time I really kind of got into this or amazing kind of experience? It really seemed to put me in contact with my higher soul.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
would
an
agree.
aspect of this?
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
Definitely activating to the mental permanency, the blue pearl or inside the pineal gland. Um, Definitely activating to that. And I would also say activating to the heart seed. I for the longest time, my kind of go-to thing when we do the materialization breath,
Hmm.
aloes. And it's not because it's so concretizing. Like cinnamon is kind of concretizing, and
Hmm.
there's oils that are like, it brings energy in and physicalizes it. It's like it almost like gets rid of something, so there's a greater space for light to come in. And I like it for activation of the heart, or like you said, a sense of oneness.
Yeah.
The idea of putting it on the body of Christ when they took him off, it is to kind of like disentangle, the body and calm the body down, even though the body's already passed. That's a thing in a lot of different traditions is they'll cover the body with herbs or oils or
Right.
something to
Yeah.
help the process the soul, un
Attach.
like disentangling from the
Disentangle.
body.
Okay. That's
And
close.
that was the tradition back then is like if somebody had a little bit of money, that's what you would do is you would cover the body with aloes. Um, And so that's why they did that. But I would say in deeper meditation practices or ceremonies and things, a lot of times in different traditions, they burn aloes. Yeah.
Okay.
You know, as an incense, they burn it. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
And go ahead, Denise.
Hey, Denise.
Hi, I could probably stop here altogether. How's that? Oh my gosh, I've never experienced aloes before, so it was amazing. And when you spoke with Dan, I could feel the blue pearl, and it was like in my heart. I'm
Mhm.
not sure it might be in the crown, but it can't. I don't know. I think like I'm still kind of spacey from it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it will put you into a very deep, intuitive state, you know, where you're letting go of the everyday mind and you're in that more intuitive state, or like Dan was saying, that sense of oneness almost just washes over you. And you know, what a great experience.
Yeah, the last 2 days were really kind of challenging days, but this really, that's why I said I probably could just stop here.
Right.
Well, I might still want to buy Jasmine and Angelica,
Right.
obviously, but
Yeah.
I'm going to invest in aloes.
Yeah. And just, you know, like a drop or two, and or, you know, smell it from the bottle, but, you know, even like you kind of rub it on the head a little bit, and oh my God, it just feels so amazing.
Is this one that would at all help my son on any level?
It would help anybody. If he would use it, it would definitely help him. Yeah.
Okay. When I see him, I'll take it with me and see what
Oh,
he,
perfect. Yeah.
okay.
Perfect.
Because for some reason, I don't know why, I don't think it's a magic, totally magic thing for him, but I don't know, I have a feeling there's going to be just a little bit of lightness or opening.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Sure.
Thank you so
And
much.
the thing that's nice about the aloes, just the scent itself, you know, the different grades do smell different, but I would say none of them are like overpowering or overwhelming. Like, you know, how you put galbanum on and you walk in the room and everybody's like, "Oh, what's that smell?" You know, or like, you know, mint or something like that. And you know, aloes has this. I mean, it's present, you know, like if you're wearing it and you walk into a room or something, but it's one of those things that people are like, what's that smell? Like, you know, they're trying to figure it out, and it's pleasing, but like it's not so in somebody's face.
Sometimes people are drawn to it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're
Oh
like,
yeah.
what is that scent? Like,
Yeah.
what is
Yeah.
that? And that's happened a couple times in my life,
Yeah.
just like maybe twice, and maybe this time, it not that often in my lifetime, but and then I seeked it out. I tried to find out what that scent was,
Right.
and yes, thank you very
You're
much.
so welcome.
And so that'll conclude our ARC and somatic programming. I think this aloe's got everybody a little
Yeah, a little spacey.
little quiet. But if you have any regular Q&A questions, you can raise your hand in the chat and we'll get to you, and then we'll get to, raise your hand in the, raise your hand. And then we'll get to the ones in the chat as well. So next week is week 15 of the ARC programming, and that is going to be emotional responses, and your oil is emotional elevation. So
Oh, fun.
excited. Yeah, I love this oil. So excited for you guys to join us next week as well. All right. So with that, go ahead and Jan, start us off, and then Lolly.
Hey, Jen.
Let's get you
Here.
unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I really enjoyed last weekend's class, and I've
Good.
enjoyed so many of the classes. I have tons of notes, and sometimes I forget where to look for answers.
Sure.
But what I
You
wanted,
and me both.
what I wanted to
I
ask,
get that. Yeah.
yeah. Sometime within the last year, you had us do a process with marjoram and cedar, like on
Oh,
sore
yes.
joints,
Yes.
like when I did it on my knees, and it was really helpful. And I wonder if you could just kind of remind me how that went.
Yeah, so you can use marjoram. You can use other things that are antispasmodic for the marjoram, but I find marjoram works the best.
Okay.
And the thing with the marjoram is it's antispasmodic, but it's increasing the circulation, but not crazy amounts. But basically, it's opening up like the vessels, like the lymphatic vessels and everything. And
Mhm.
then when you use like either like cedar or cypress, you could use cistus, but cistus is kind of expensive. So cedar and cypress are very, cheap and inexpensive, and so you're going to kind of be using a bunch of it. So I usually
Yeah.
say cedar or cypress. And so the idea is, you put a few drops or neat, or you can put it in body tonics even. And you don't really want to do ointments because you're going back and forth. But
Mhm.
so you put the marjoram on, and that kind of opens everything up. The vessels open up, the tissues relax.
Okay.
Then you use something like cypress or cedar, and it has an astringent quality to it. So then it kind of makes the tissues like firm up. And so what
Okay.
you're doing is you're opening, closing, opening, closing, opening, closing. And,
Right.
and what you're really doing is you're manually draining the lymph, your body's ability to toxify in an area. So all the debris and everything in that area, be it a joint or soft tissue or, middle of
Mm.
the back, whatever it is, by opening and closing like that, you're manually pumping the lymph out, which
Okay.
is a cause of, degeneration, achiness. It can be a precursor to arthritis. It could be, just like when your body doesn't feel that good. Like sometimes
Mhm.
lymph is just stuck in an area. So, we do it a lot of times in areas where there's pain or where an area is not healing very fast. So
Mhm.
it could be arthritis or a degenerative thing, but I've used it a bunch of times even on like an area of the back where it's just not getting better. And you just kind of like every couple minutes, you just put the other one on. So you
Mhm.
do cypress, and then a couple of minutes goes by, and then you put marjoram, and then you do cypress, and then you do marjoram. And by going through and doing that, you can detoxify that area quite a bit, reduce inflammation, and improve the body's ability to reduce the inflammation even further and take out achiness and pain. If
Mhm.
there's arthritis in there, it helps flush out some of the debris,
Yeah.
little crystalline deposits and uric acid and things that accumulate in an arthritic condition. And so, any version of that, it can be quite helpful.
Okay. That's right. It was opening and closing, and
Yeah.
yeah, it's all coming back to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I think we just called that like the lymphatic technique or something.
Okay.
Remember what we called that?
Say we called it the lymphatic technique as
Yeah.
well, but that might not have been.
Yeah, it might have been either called lymphatic technique or the marjoram cedar lymphatic technique or something like that.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so like if you're going back in your notes, but you know how we did like last weekend, where we were doing three systems. Lymphatic system kind of falls in immune system and kind of falls into cardiovascular system. But we were after the weekend, we were like, man, these classes are like so good because we can teach, you can diagnose, and I think we're still going to do one more where we do like lymphatic and maybe mix in like memory and sleep or something like that, and do like a weekend of that, and that lymphatic technique would be right in there.
Yeah.
Shared it was in lymphatic too.
Oh, so it was in the lymphatic 2.
Oh,
Remember
okay.
those free weekends? It was
Yes.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Okay. I
Yeah.
can find those notes. Good. I just didn't know
Good.
where to look.
Yeah.
And it looks like Robert also posted a YouTube there that
Oh.
could as well there in the
Yeah.
chat for you. So
Okay. Thanks, Robert. And I found it really interesting the last week or so. You were saying you can use these protocols as a diagnostic. Like
Yeah. Sure.
some things work better for some people and other things work better for other
Right.
people, I guess.
Yeah.
So because I've really noticed going through the classes that when something really hits me, I'll write down, do this,
Right.
and I never thought of it
Did
that
a
way.
particular area really like strike you, or like did you have a strong response to something? Like did one of the systems we treated like really knock you out, or?
Let's see. I can't remember right now which oil. I know in the past, like Spanish, we didn't use Spanish sage recently, but I know I've had a reaction, good reaction to Spanish that just
Mhm.
cleared in my head kind of. And mugwort even.
Yeah.
Mugwort
Yeah.
usually kind of puts me to sleep.
Yeah, mugwort. Even when everything's going good, I think like mugwort gets energy moving in the body so much
Uh-huh.
that even when you're feeling good, you're gonna probably have a response to that. But
Right.
mugwort's always a good one to use. Yeah, that's another one of my favorites.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much
You're
for
so welcome.
refreshing.
Good talking with you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks.
Sorry, and I just wanted to say in chat, also the healing physical and psychological pain, somebody was saying that Cedar Marjoram was in
Oh
that.
yeah.
So I put that, and Robert can usually find the link for that as well. Thank you, Robert. So if you go to the chat, we're trying to post what Greg is suggesting for you guys, so it'll be a little easier. And then go ahead, Lolly.
Hey.
Hi. So, the weekend was amazing, so thank you. And it's always amazing to me how everything feels so quiet and relaxed and small little naps, and so thank you for that. And now
Yeah,
was
isn't
also
it
amazing.
amazing how much tension the body can hold on to that we're
Oh my
completely
God.
unaware of? Like
Yeah.
completely unaware of. Like,
And
yeah. Yeah.
and things I wasn't even expecting. So,
Yeah. I mean, I think
um,
that's the great thing about doing those classes where we go through each system, and hit 3 or 4 things in each system is, you know, we know the things that are bothering us that's in our conscious awareness, but sometimes we have areas in the body that when we go through and do them, you had like no idea. And
exactly.
I don't do the oils with you guys, during the class because I gotta talk. Sometimes I'm gonna be able to talk. And but I'll like afterwards, I'll go through and I'll do little versions of it in the evening afterwards, or sometimes I'm doing it in the week leading up to it. And it blows my mind sometimes the systems that I mean just made me like I treated and it made me feel so much better. And I'm like, I didn't realize I was feeling bad. Like I thought I was feeling really pretty good. And then I treat that and I was like, there was a part of me that felt really crappy. I had no idea. And so I think it increases body awareness for one, but like we were talking about with Jan, like it is like a bit of a diagnostic. And you would think like the one that struck me the most was the urinary system, back a couple of classes ago. I went through and did it. I was like, I didn't think I had any issues there. But like, oh my God, I felt so much better after that. Like so much better. And that's one that I've continued to kind of do. And I'm like, I had no idea. Like me, no idea.
Yeah.
And how
So
would
thank
how
you.
would you even know about that unless a problem, kind of came up, or you go through and you just treat something for the sake of treating it. And it's a good prevention, but it also is a way to bring something to your awareness where you go like, you got some tension down in that area, or you got maybe some functional issues that might be going on, and I would say my back feels better from doing that urinary tract thing, and y- I sleep a little bit deeper in the night. Like I just wouldn't have put two and two together,
hmm
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. And then, so yeah, so a few follow-ups. My eyes, oh my God, so I'm still dealing with that. At this point, I don't know if it's even better, maybe slightly. I mean, there is something there. It's not an infection, but
Mhm.
still both of them. Still doing the same things. I saw another doctor yesterday. Because I don't want to cut into my eye and, drain it out. That freaks me out. So the person I saw yesterday suggested something called IPL, which is like intense pulse light. They do it for the skin sometimes, and I guess it's a procedure now that they do for the eyes.
Oh, I've never heard of it. Yeah.
So basically it's like 4 sessions once a month, and they go with this light through they cover the eyes, but they go all around, and so it kind of stimulates the cells underneath, and it's good for dry eyes, it's good for all the small glands.
Huh.
So I mean, it's still a procedure, so I'm kind of going back and forth because, well, a few things. One,
So is it like a laser or like what?
it's somewhat similar to laser, yes.
Huh. I
My
mean,
skin
I find cold lasers to be super effective. I
So
mean, as long as
this
you have the right potency of laser.
so this one
Yeah.
is it's different, and so there are a few things here. One, I can't, obviously, when I'm scanning, I'm too biased to figure out if it's a good option for me, so I do need to look into that. And then the other thing that came up is, I mean, my skin is sensitive, but what came up, and one of the things that shows up on there is something like St. John's wort that you have to stop taking because it's related to photosensitivity, and it can cause cause the blood vessels to leak. That's what the guy told me.
Yeah. Okay.
And I'm wondering. So what I'm wondering is,
So if that's the case, like I think you're using lemon as well. You get like a lot of the citruses. You'll have to drop the citruses. You'll have to drop
yes,
St. John's wort.
helichrysum as well, right?
I don't know if that one has a
So this one,
sensitivity.
so I was thinking about this one not because of the light sensitivity, but because it makes the blood thinner. But that's a different issue, right?
I mean, my rule of thumb is, I mean, I don't know how strong of a procedure this is, but usually with a procedure for a day or two prior, I usually have everybody just stop everything. Just because you never know. Like, granted, this is really strong light, but I would probably stop anything that you're concerned about. And if you could, I'd probably stop everything for like a 24 hours or so before.
So what came up with the St. John's wort, because I also saw it online, and the guy mentioned today that it's, and I still need to double check, 3 months. Does that make sense? 3 months of
You have to not do St. John's wort for 3 months to do this?
Yes.
Oh, I don't know enough about the procedure to know, but I don't know for the sensitivity to light. Usually within a few days, it would probably
So,
go away.
because again, I'm assuming different formulations of St. John's wort would react differently, right?
Again, I don't know enough about that
Okay.
device. Yeah.
But you would think that in a few days it should be there shouldn't be an
I
issue.
mean, that's what I would think, but again, I don't know enough about that device and how potent it is. When you start messing with like super intense like light or something like that, there's probably a set of rules that is not based on common sense. It's based on like the experience of what they do. And so whatever the person is, I'd probably take his advice on whatever that is. Yeah.
I've been getting mixed. I'm seeing somebody else later this week to get more information and kind of cross-reference what they're telling me. But really, as far as the oils, you would think so St. John's wort, lemon. Is there anything else that you wouldn't?
Any citrus. I would reduce citruses. I would reduce. Is there anything else you can think of? Let me look something up.
And the helichrysum, I was okay. So it has nothing to do with that because it's not a photosensitivity issue. It just thins the blood itself to make it flow better.
Um, cumin. Like I would probably hold off on the cumin.
So the black cumin that I love so much.
Yeah, it's usually more the regular cumin,
Yeah, it's
but
the spice.
but I would say it's still black seed, black cumin. I'd probably leave that out. Lovage would be another one. Neroli, petitgrain. Actually, skip petitgrain. Petitgrain's okay. Um, but even um, lemon verbena, if you're using lemon verbena.
Mm.
Bergamot. I think I said that already,
Yeah,
but
'cause
but
that's it.
yeah, but the citruses.
Okay, but if so, then it depends on the intensity of the light. But if it's like a regular procedure, that's not
Well,
too.
all of those can be like what you'd call like phototoxic, which is means like
Mm-hmm.
you could um uh, my experience, unless it's like a really direct sunlight and it's like the skin is exposed. Like if you put lemon on and go sunbathe out at the beach,
Yeah.
you're going to have a reaction. But if you put lemon on your skin and you go to the grocery store and it's out, usually it's not going to do anything. I mean, potentially could,
Mm-hmm.
but it usually is like prolonged sun exposure. Where here you're using concentrated light, and so I would say that's a lot like sunbathing on the beach on steroids. So anything that's potentially having that reaction with the sun, I would not.
So not taking it internally. Okay.
It's usually more topically, but
That's
still with you're doing concentrated light in and around the eyes, I would say nothing, like
yeah.
nothing that's potentially toxic.
I would still double check again because then it's not even relevant to do right now if I really need to wait longer. But okay, so thank you.
Mhm.
Realistically, I would rather not do anything and just have this thing go away on its own and do more hot compresses. But I don't know what am I
No, it's
missing.
been going on for a while. Like, so I would
At 5 weeks
say,
now.
yeah, yeah. So I'd say like having somebody look at it or potentially doing I mean, you can just be patient and have it happen, but 5, 6 weeks, that's got to be annoying and beyond annoying. So
I've had it 6 weeks before, like a few years ago, and eventually it went, on its own. But cutting into it just doesn't seem like a good
no,
option.
I mean, especially something with the eyes, the more you can treat it and just have it resolve itself.
Yeah.
But if you've had it in 6 weeks seems to be the marker, maybe give it a few more weeks before you start doing another process. And yeah.
Okay. So thank you. I'll look into that some more and I'll get more information to see what's even relevant. So thank you. I have been using really the algorithm on the sides of the eyes. So would you think that, but that has nothing to do with like, yeah, photosensitivity, so it doesn't matter. Okay. Um, by the way, talking about, okay, so that was one thing. Now, just since we're talking about sun and everything, carrot seed. Um, I mean, it comes up, and there's some people and some companies that like to use that when they do like a very, very natural sunscreen with oils. Do you have
Yeah,
like
I don't
topically mixing it
yeah.
with something?
I think that's in the vein of Bigfoot and a chupacabra. Like,
Okay.
like there's people who say stuff like that, but I don't know that it's the best. It might have a little bit, but I mean,
Okay.
probably like 4 or 5 SPF or something. You know.
Okay.
I, a lot of my peers have talked about that before. I never
Mhm.
saw something work too well. Like I just,
Okay.
I would love to be able to say this is amazing. We were at some hot springs and they sold us some like, they didn't have any sort of sunscreen. And I mean, you're just out in the sun baking. And I was like, we gotta put
Mhm.
something on. Like, and they had some herbal thing. And It did nothing. Like it did absolutely nothing. And so it's a thing that I've tried through the years, and
Mhm.
you know, nothing is where I would say like, oh yeah, this will probably be helpful, you know. But
Okay,
even
so
like
thank you.
like a t-shirt is only 7 SPF. Like you
Mhm.
can still get a sunburn through a t-shirt. And so,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm,
yeah.
I
I
was wondering because it shows up in quite a few things, with companies that I work with or tried their stuff and
Yeah,
like
I
want
mean,
to clean it.
carrots used in cosmetics quite a bit because of how it treats sluggish skin, and
Right.
so they'll use it in like face creams and serums and
But it shows
things.
up specifically for more options for like a sun. So that's why I was
Uh,
okay. Okay, fine.
uh,
Then no.
I would say that in a chupacabra or like you know, I don't know.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
wouldn't trust it. That's what I would say.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
fine. Thank you. So then the other thing I want to follow up on, my low back when I get up in the morning and I have this
Mhm,
like red mark on, top of my butt cheeks.
mhm.
This is still there. So I used what did I use? Helichrysum, I used marjoram, I even used because we talked about birch complex on the weekend. I was like, let's experiment. As much as I like it, it did not do anything.
And
Um,
so you're putting it on the spine or you're
on
putting
the
it on the
spine and
spine?
on the spot. And
Mhm.
so like this morning, it's not that it's not painful, like my back is not painful, but the red spot is there.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. You know, it sounds like a dermatome, which is like the end of the nerve as it like comes to the skin, but it could just be a skin issue. But it sounds nerve
It's
oriented, you know.
it doesn't, yeah,
Do
that's the
you have
thing.
a lot of low back issue or low back pain?
I mean, yeah, I have my car, I broke my pelvis 20 years ago, so I have low
Yeah.
back. Yeah, so I do have issues in the area. And sometimes I can wake up with pain on the right side, but like this morning there was no pain, but there's only this specific spot
Mhm. I would keep treating the low back and the low spine, like the hip and spine.
with which
Just the
things
same
are
stuff. Yeah, all the same stuff. I'd
just
try to make the back better and then just kind of monitor the red spot and see what that does. But I would focus more on the back than I would on the red spot.
okay. Yeah, it feels like it doesn't feel like it's a skin thing, but yeah, and I'll try. And I remember that you mentioned at some point maybe clove or combination of clove in something would be helpful, which is why I also went
Well,
to the
again,
birch
again,
complex.
that's more treating the back and the hip rather than
Yeah,
the red spot. And
yeah, yeah.
the idea would be that there possibly is an inflamed nerve or there's
Mm-hmm.
something. And so, I would definitely dilute the clove quite a bit because it would be irritating to the skin. So, like in a blend or just a little tiny bit in like a massage oil or something. But
Yeah.
still, I would make it more about the hip and the back than I would about the spot.
And which is why I've been treating the spine, and then I
Mhm.
figured clove would either be like APR or like birch complex.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Fine, I'll try that as well.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
seriously so weird.
But I
Um,
would I would use the gauge of the more that the back and the hip improves, like I'd watch that red spot because if it is a dermatome like issue where it's an inflamed nerve, like or a little bundle of nerves or something, the more that those things get resolved, the more that it's likely that that's going to be affected. And
yeah.
so, I would use the low back and the hip as a gauge. Um,
Mhm.
like I know when my back gets like really funky, which it hasn't done for about a year, but I get red spots on my back, and then when I resolve it, they go away. And so,
And and yeah, my back hasn't been. It actually hasn't been so bad, which is why I'm like, but
yeah, but
okay,
you
but
can't use
it's
that as an indicator because
yeah.
if the nerves are being compressed enough, the problem is there, but
Yeah.
the body, that part of the nerves are asleep. So
Okay.
that's I would just keep resolving that back so that like you
Mm-hmm.
know how you talk about like sometimes in bed or getting up your back's a little bit of an issue or you have pins
Mm-hmm.
and needles, like keep treating that, and the more that that's resolved the more likely that's going to go away. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because
Yeah.
even like this morning I woke up with some spasms, even though I did like
Right.
partial
Right.
last night. So they're still okay.
Right.
Keep doing
So
that.
yeah, keep treating that stuff.
Okay, sounds
Yeah.
good. Thank you.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is we talked the weekend about saffron, which you mentioned before. I actually have a
Mhm.
small body tonic of that. And I actually put that on my body the other day. It feels really nice. Like it just
And it's
relaxing
really good for low
everything.
back. Like
And
the
that's
thing, yeah, it's
yeah.
really good for low backs. Like how I started making that tincture back like 30 years ago was that people who had like a herniated disc or like a really thin disc or bone on bone, especially in the lumbar, those last like three or four vertebrae before it hits the sacrum, you know, the tailbone.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I found that like if I put you know, I was doing all kinds of treatments, but if I put saffron on that area, sometimes with just a couple of treatments that those vertebrae would like loosen up and
Mm-hmm.
pressure would come off. And so, you know, uh, you can put it on any part of the body,
Mm-hmm.
but my original thing was about like low back because the low back can get really wound up with tension, kind of more than other areas of the body. And so, like, sometimes you have to kind of go at it a little bit harder. And so that's where it started. But then later I started, man, I slap it on my shoulders sometimes, my feet, you know, I'll slap it on different areas. And one of my things that I like to do sometimes is like for me, like about that high above the ankle, like there's this band that goes around both my lower legs from my youth, all the things that I would, you know, rock climbing and cycling and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
area is just it's
I
like a
have that on the
mess.
right.
It's
I have
so
that on the
like
right. Yeah.
irritated. And so I'll put the saffron on the tincture or the body tonic and then I let
Mm-hmm.
it dry and then I cover it again with helichrysum massage oil. And oh my God, you know, they still bother me, but they're 50% of what they used to be. And I mean, I've been dealing with that for like 30 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was kind of lower on the totem pole. Like I had much bigger fish to fry in other parts of my body. But now
Yeah.
that all those other things are doing better, I'm like, what about this little area? This little area is
Yeah.
really stubborn. And so I've been tackling it. And, you know, it's not been anything that's been overnight, but the more that I go through and treat it, um, you know, the therapist that evaluated said I just had a lot of scar tissue in and around that area. And so helichrysum in theory works, but you know, scar tissue can be different things. You know, it can be like these bundles of muscle fibers that have like a lesion, like you know, the soft tissue around them has like contracted. And so it's almost like these little feels like I have a bunch of marbles in the bottom part of my leg. And so like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, go through and breaking them up like that. You're breaking up those deep adhesions or scars. And you know, when we have injuries or repetitive motions or things like that, you know, sometimes what you're dealing with is not just a spasm, but you're dealing with these deep adhesions in the body that really will kind of alter the posture and throw the body off. And so you just kind of, you know, keep going at it. And I notice that as I do that, I stand different and I walk different. But there's still a lot more work that has to be done. For me,
Yeah.
it accumulated over, you know, probably a decade. And so, you know, it's not going to go away. It's not going to go away in just a couple of treatments or something. But you know, like doing the maintenance, the saffron is, I mean, I take saffron internally also just to
So that
increase
was
the tension on in my body, and it's definitely one of my go-to things for managing body tension.
So that was the next question, because I
Mhm.
mean, realistically, there is a lot of tension in my body. I do feel, especially with all the work that we've been doing, a lot of things been coming up, a lot of
Sure.
thoughts, a lot of loops that are just
Yeah,
stuck
yeah.
there. And I'm really wondering if doing saffron internally would
I,
also
I,
be
I would be
beneficial.
I would say I'm a fan of it. Like
Okay.
I would have a hard time trying to talk you out of it.
Okay.
Um,
And then you do that like once a day, like a dropper full type of thing.
you could do it once a day, or you could do it twice a day, like in the morning and evening. I would say, because I'll go and get trigger point therapy, and the
Mhm.
days that I don't take it, I scream and yell a lot more when I'm getting the therapy done than when I do the tincture. And the therapist, he'll even say, he goes, "Wow, I can push a lot deeper into your tissue. Usually you're yelling by now." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's just the way I roll. I'm cool." But it's the saffron talking. And I'll do it with lobelia too. Like lobelia can be
Mhm.
helpful as well. But the thing that I also notice is it does make the mind better. It does improve circulation. Like and
Which, yeah.
circulation is sometimes in those areas of our bodies that have been injured or something. We have like poorer circulation in those areas. So it does help blood get to that area, which helps the body to regenerate. And then it it's very elevating to like the mental processes and like your mood. Like
Mhm.
I can have like be taking that and have something that would make normally like something be like a little bit of a bad day, and I'll be like, ugh, and I might have a minute with it, but then I'll be like, but it's all good. And I
Mhm.
just kind of roll past it. And I would love to be able to say, I'm so evolved. That's just where I'm at now. It's the saffron. Let's be very
And
clear. It's the saffron.
so I'm missing that, because even though I take, Melissa, and I do take like even cinnamon, I still, so I get upset with like little things that I'm like, I need something that just, yeah,
Saffron could be your ticket. I mean, I like saffron for that. I like blue lotus for that.
yeah.
I like other things for that. A weird one that you wouldn't think of is mandarin petitgrain. It
Okay.
it just it it chills the body out in a way. It's still like impacting um increasing like fight not fight flight, but rest and repair.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something like more deeply relaxing than some of the other things we use for that. And I like it, especially when there is because it's also antispasmodic, but it seems to be a little extra special when there's pain involved. And
Okay.
so like I'm even incubating a little like different pain blend, because there's all different kinds of pain in the body, and
Mm-hmm.
different people respond to different pain formulas. And so just having like one pain blend, it's helpful, but there's so much little nuanced things with pain that like I'm always playing with things for pain.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
I'm liking it with like birch tar and helichrysum and
mhm.
you know, I'm playing with a couple other little things, but the more that I play with it, the more that I like it for those kinds of things. And so kind of does help you like just roll with the day. And then tuberose will do that as well. Like
Yeah. And
uh,
so, I mean, blue lotus you would take internally. So the mandarin petitgrain also internally?
no,
Because,
you probably could just do petitgrain like on your wrist or inhalation. I mean, you
oh,
could take it
okay.
internally if you wanted, but I mean, most times, like when I'm working it, I put 3 or 4 drops on, I smelled all the bottle, and then I was like, ugh, God, I got to get something done today because it puts me in such a chill mode.
Oh,
And
okay. And
so
it's different than
yeah.
the regular, because I do have petitgrain, but this one is a different. Okay.
It's a little bit different. I mean, they're all petitgrins, but they're all leaves of different
Mm-hmm.
citruses. But the mandarin petitgrin is a little bit more relaxing and a little bit more antispasmodic. they all have their little areas that they're good.
Yeah.
And
But
so
this one internally would be considered as a citrus, or no?
probably not.
Okay.
Yeah, probably not.
Okay.
It's more the peel, the peels of the citruses, neroli being the flower, but the leaves themselves, I don't think they're quite as phototoxic.
Okay. And then the tuberose you do just inhalations, right? Or on your wrist?
Inhalations, a few drops on the wrist. Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then going back to the saffron, so if I can do a tincture and then doing it on the body as a body tonic, do you still have an ointment from that or no? Because the oil
I
itself,
do
it doesn't.
so the essential oil is not being made anymore. Like it might come back around again, but that's kind of the way saffron is. The one guy that was making it, I was buying up everything he made, so I was really kind of his only customer. And so, my past experience was he was only distilling it about every 3 years. And so my guess is that's what's happening. But I don't know. But I do have an oil that is based in saffron. The tincture is made from those little, what do you call them, the stamens or the little strands that you like cook with, right? But the topical oil base is more like the leaves and those little things. So it is slightly different, but it's still the same idea.
So in terms of like the benefits, like for me, would you do
I would do body tonic.
body tonic?
Yeah.
Okay. And I tend to mix it with a little bit of oil anyway, just so it's not drying my skin. But
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So and is there any, I remember that you mentioned something about like it can be even too relaxing in a way to the body. Like, is it something that I can use on a daily basis or
You
would
could
just
use it on a daily
rotated it?
basis. Yeah, you could use it
Okay.
on a daily basis. Yeah.
Okay. And then potentially if I'm using other things, then other parts
Yeah.
of the body.
I would say like if you didn't really have an issue with the body having tension and everything, like it could push you a little too far. You might only want to use it once a day. You don't have that issue. Like you're needing to calm the body down more. You know what I mean?
You're not that
So
relaxed, you need that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that would be like that's the way I feel about me too. Like I use it twice a day. It's like being too relaxed, that would be an amazing problem to have.
Yes, pretty much. Okay.
Not the way I'm wired.
Okay, so yeah, because when you talked about it on the weekend, I'm like, I have a feeling this can be, and I mean, again, it can potentially even be helpful for the other stuff I have going on and just healing everything better.
Yeah.
So, okay, perfect.
There's a little spider on the trunk. See it down at the bottom.
Sweet.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
And then go ahead, Donita, and then we have chat questions as well.
Hey, how are you, Donita?
Hi, Greg. Hi, Sam. Hi, everyone. So I have a weird question. Always. A few days ago, I started noticing a lot of activation in my forehead, Ajna, crown, feet, like a lot of energy in my hands. And today it started itching, like the forehead and Ajna.
It's
like
what?
itching the skin, like I'm scratching. There's no rash, nothing.
Clean your Ming Men a bit. Sometimes, because part of what the Ming Men does is it's taking energy from the lower centers and it shoots it up high. And so, that's the thing. Like sometimes is it the forehead's activated or is the forehead activated because of the Ming Men? And you know, especially if it's just activating on its own. I mean, you do kind
Oh
of
no,
psychic and clairvoyant work and stuff, and so it wouldn't be that far out of reach that it would just activate. But just having like in you're feeling a little itchiness, usually when that's happening to me, like it's the main man's a little overactivated, and so
but
you know. Mhm.
I forgot to add, I mean, normally in my past experiences, when the Meng Meng goes nuts, I get the headaches, and I
That can happen, but
don't.
it doesn't always happen.
Which is,
Yeah.
yeah, that's why I'm
Yeah.
like, what is like, this is different for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do take, I love the saffron and I love all your tinctures, and I do take them quite a bit, I would say, during the day, every day.
Mhm.
Um, and I had quite a big, deep realization yesterday on top of it, in during. Okay, so I had this deep realization as I was doing my taxes. Go figure.
Mhm. Mhm.
Go figure. But good, so there's something is happening. My dreams are weird. There is a lot of strange stuff like just, I don't know how to explain it. Just energy, movement.
Yeah, I mean, the Ming Men could be fluctuating like that just because you are moving through things and shifting through things. I mean,
So what do I do?
I would just go through and clean up the Ming Men a little bit. Use like
How?
Palo Santo or eucalyptus or hyssop, and just put your awareness on the Ming Men and just take some long, slow, deep breaths and just kind of keep cleaning that out. The other version is you could even do the same thing, but with health rays.
That's it?
Yeah, yeah, it shouldn't be super crazy. You just kind of go through and clean those things up. I mean, sometimes it's a byproduct of either things being in your field or things stuck in the arms and legs. And so if it's non-responsive, you could go a little bit deeper on the arms and legs with those same oils. But usually the Ming Men, just cleaning up the Ming Men is all it really needs. I mean, honestly, I clean my Ming Men every day. Every day. I
Okay.
Samantha and I both like every day. Like it's just a thing, you know, because you're anytime you're processing things, that is going to fluctuate. You know, it's how it's not just shooting energy up, but it's how you transmute things in the body. And so that it's fluctuating, like you can, like say you have a bad shoulder, part of what happens is the Ming Min will overactivate a little bit to try to heal, like and transmute that issue in the body and the shoulder. So it could be in the digestive tract, it could be anywhere. Like so the Ming Men fluctuating, it's kind of always going to fluctuate because it's doing house cleaning and it's cleaning things up. But if you're also shifting things emotionally and mentally, it's going to fluctuate as well. And so the more that you kind of shift your energy body, even like when you sit and meditate, like part of your body's ability to assimilate the spiritual energy that comes in meditation, your Ming Men overactivates. Part of what it does is it shoots energy up, but also sometimes what it's also doing is it's assimilating some of the energy in the body and then concretizing it down via the sex chakra. Like so it will move the energy down into the sex, into the basic, and then you're physicalizing it in the body. So, most times it's about energy going up. But, when people get a thing called Kundalini syndrome, like from a lot of meditation and things like that, it's that it's trying to assimilate the energy and it just overactivates and then doesn't regulate. And so you just got to get the energy moving in it, and then it just does what it does. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's like I can feel like the awareness has been heightened since the last few days, like I
Sure.
can feel my
Yeah. Yeah.
spine. Like it's just like the awareness on the body is very strong right now. So I'm like, oh, everything is like alive. But before that started to happen, I felt my kidneys. and I was swollen for a few days. And so I started
Yeah,
taking
I
new
mean, that's a good
stuff.
point. I mean, you could not just do the main men, but maybe do those same oils in and on the kidneys, and then maybe use like a little bit of a diuretic, like lovage or parsley.
I am. It's fine
Yeah,
now. That's what
yeah,
I've
yeah,
been like.
yeah.
And I've been taking you mentioned that mushroom, cordyceps, right?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I've been taking like, how much can I take of that stuff? The tincture.
Hey, two droppers twice a day if you want to go that much. Yeah,
Okay, because
yeah,
I've been taking about that much
yeah.
with other herbs and lovage and
Sure. Yeah.
okay.
The dosage usually to produce like a shift or a change in the body is like when you're using the dry herb is about 3,000 milligrams. But it doesn't mean you're limited to 3,000 milligrams. It's just that's what it takes to produce the result. Like, so if you're treating like asthma or trying to enhance like physical performance with sports or something, 3,000 milligrams a day is what you shoot for. But I would say that dealing with health issues, be it kidney, cardiovascular, or lung related, I've had people do like double that dosage for a period of time until the body starts to shift and change. And then we go back down to more of a maintenance of the 3,000 milligrams. And so a dropper in the morning and a dropper in the evening is pretty close to 3,000 milligrams. And so, doubling up for a little while, yeah, I'd say go for it. I got many people off inhalers, for asthma with quercetin and, between 3 and 6,000 milligrams of cordyceps, like in long-term off inhalers. Yeah.
Oh, how long is a while?
Usually I would have somebody do that for probably 90 days. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the cordyceps and the
Mushrooms you can
lovage.
actually do big dosages in.
Oh,
Like,
good.
um, when I was young and I would start I don't know, like my body would just start feeling crappy. My acupuncturist at the time, he would give me a bottle of reishi mushroom, like, but they were tablets, they weren't in a capsule, they were hard tablets. And he would tell me, chew 30 of these in the morning, chew 30 of these in the evening. And like I did it for 2 days. That was the whole bottle. And I was like, that's a lot. And he goes, it's mushrooms. And like I would do it and I would feel so much better. Taking 3 or 4 tablets, it would make me feel a little bit better, but it was the big dosage of the mushrooms. And there's not a lot of things you want to do big dosages of like that, but the mushrooms are kind of in that vein, because really it's like concentrated food. And for us sometimes, like, we take lion's mane, and Samantha's really good about putting different mushrooms in her coffee and everything. I'm not so good at that. I just will do the tinctures, but we'll go through a little phase where we'll order a bunch of just huge lion's mane's mushrooms and cut them up and cook them, and we just eat lion's mane for like 3 or 4 days, and then we're good for a while. But like that's like probably taking like 10 bottles of the herb, but we just eat it like food. Yeah.
Talking about the mushrooms,
Mhm.
can you briefly tell which, like reishi math, like what do they do, each one? In
Well,
tinctures, the ones you have on the website.
yeah, any mushroom is always good for the immune system, like strengthening and improving the immune system. But then they have their little specialties. I would say reishi, very good for the immune system, very good for activating the crown, but it's very good for regulating the immune system. So you would use it like if the immune system was hypervigilant, hyperreactive, starting to go into like an autoimmune kind of response, or sometimes the immune system just won't calm down. It's very regulating to that. And so, still improves the immune function, but a little bit more in that vein. Um, where maitake and shiitake, I think we're just doing maitake right now, right? Um, it's one of the mushrooms that is the biggest, like strongest stimulant of your body's immune system, like fighting off viruses and bacterias and things. But I would also say like maitake will even help stimulate the aspects in the body that go after like chaotic cell growth and tumors and things like that. And so when you're needing to really pump up your immune system, maitake is a good one. Like I want to say that's the one they call king of mushrooms. Like it's like if you're really trying to boost up your immune system, you would do that. Lion's mane, again, very good for the immune system, but I would say the thing where it really shines is in what it does to the brain. It can really help rehab the brain, especially when the brain has been toxic, either through exposure or poor circulation, poor lymphatic drainage, poor cerebral spinal fluid circulation. And, they've even done preliminary studies. They haven't done like a concrete study, but they were looking at the use of lion's mane when people even started to have like a little bit of dementia or a little bit of exposure to something that caused like some cognitive issues. Like, so anytime you're wanting to rehab the brain, increase how the brain and the mind is working, like lion's mane in the vein of mushrooms is one of the good places to go to. And so I think the study that I was looking at, it was an anecdotal study. Like, so it wasn't like um, official, but they were looking at it where people had been exposed to toxins, chemicals, and molds, and had a substantial issue in the brain or cognitive functions. And they found that giving them lion's mane over a period of time, the brain started bouncing back to its normal status rather than, what the exposure had done. And so whenever I use lion's mane, I do find that it is like a mental or cognitive stimulant. It makes the brain work much better. Cordyceps is good, like you said, it's good for the lungs, it's good for the kidneys, it's good for the liver, still good for the immune system. All of the mushrooms really help elevate your energy levels and help kind of strengthen and tonify the body. But cordyceps, I would say, out of most of them, very fortifying to the body. One of the better things to use to treat like things like asthma, or if somebody who just always has respiratory issues, cordyceps is the thing to use as far as mushrooms are concerned. And definitely like the use of cordyceps, my experience with it many years ago treating patients is it reduced the production of mucus in the body. Because I think the impact it has on the kidneys, it just didn't, the body wouldn't convert fluid to mucus as much or as easy. And the other thing with cordyceps is it increases your endurance. So it gives you more stamina for physical activity to the point where athletes, there was a big brouhaha back in the 80s when this group of Chinese, I want to say it was gymnasts, they were getting ready to go to the Olympics, and they had been performing all those things they do before they go to the Olympics, to the trials and all that. And through all the trials, they were very mediocre. Like they were just super mediocre. And so nobody was really thinking the Chinese were going to do anything. And then it came to Olympic time, and they were just kicking everybody's butt. And there was all these accusations of they're on steroids, they improved too much too quickly. And what they were doing is they would take cordyceps, they were taking it daily, but they would take it before their event. And as soon as they were done, they would drink like like a tea or something that they would make out of it, and they would drink it, and they were taking about 5,000 to 6,000 milligrams a day. And basically they weren't having the lactic acid issues. Like, when you push yourself and your body gets sore, that's lactic acid, basically. Like, your body went into a phase where it wasn't getting enough oxygen, but you keep pushing, and your body's able to perform, but because of the lack of oxygen, it produces this acid in the body that makes your body sore and achy and things like that. And that can happen anywhere. That can happen in the digestive system. It can happen in your skeletal muscle. But them taking it before and then, but especially after, they didn't have the lactic acid issues. And so as they were performing day after day in the Olympics, everybody was getting a little tired and getting a little sore, but those guys weren't. And so the closer it got to the finale, they were feeling like it was still the first day while everybody else was tired and sore and having to push. And so, they medaled a whole bunch. And they got tested because everybody was screaming steroids, steroids, steroids. And they got tested for steroids and nothing. And so finally they were pushed, like, how did this happen? Because it was very abnormal. And they just copped to it. They go, yeah, we use cordyceps. It's a ancient Chinese or Tibetan thing that we do, and that's just what we did. And so that's back then, cordyceps was crazy priced because it wasn't being grown, like, it wasn't being cultivated. You had to go and wild gather it, and it grows like a little bit under the ground. So you have to just move dirt around to find it. And so back then, I think it was like $100 or $110 a gram. Like, it was like, basically a gram would be 1,000 milligrams. So like one big pill or two 500 milligram, that was like $100. And so, people weren't using it back then, but over a period of time, people started cultivating and growing it. And it's become, much more reasonable. You still have to be sure to get, like, because there'll be the mother mushroom, and then there'll be, offspring of it, after about 5 cycles where that grows away from the mother mushroom, the potency starts going down. So, you have to kind of source the mushroom so that it's as close to the mother mushroom as possible to keep the potency. And there's a bunch of people that have things on the market where they don't keep making the new mother mushroom. They just keep growing it from that one mother mushroom, and it might be 100 generations away from it. And so you'll get cordyceps that's a little bit cheaper, but it really kind of produces no result because it doesn't have any real potency to it. So, most of the mushrooms you try to keep as close to the mother as the mother mushroom as possible. And so I think that might be all of them. Is there one that I'm missing?
Chaga.
Chaga. So chaga is, again, very good for the immune system, especially inflammatory conditions. It is a very good anti-inflammatory type mushroom to be taking. It is good for certain kinds of cancers, like inflammatory cancers, like breast cancer, things like that. Chaga is a good one to use, but it's just very good for reducing inflammation in the body while improving immune function. And so they all have their little personalities and the things that they do. And, I think we try to rotate them a bit. Samantha's always rotating them, but, I like my reishi, I like my cordyceps, I like my lion's mane. I try to use them all, but those are kind of my go-to ones. I probably should use chaga a lot more, but I don't know.
Question.
Mhm.
That's fantastic question. Can I put like 2 droppers full of each in a shot
Mhm.
glass?
Sure.
So they're not gonna fight.
No, they pretty much get along. I mean, there's a lot of companies that's what they'll do is they'll mix all the mushrooms together and make like a mushroom party cocktail, and you do that. They all work pretty friendly with each other. They don't really counteract each other or anything. When you start mixing them with herbs and oils, like in the same concoction, that potentially could happen. But like just mixing all the mushrooms together, they're fine. Yeah.
Okay, then I can wait 5 minutes and take the other stuff, right?
Yeah, you can just put it all together in a smoothie and yeah.
Oh, they're not too bad.
Yeah.
The aloes tincture, that's the worst I find.
That's pretty
And
strong. It's
yes,
pretty
it's
strong.
stinky. It's
Yeah.
stinky.
Yeah.
There's just a few, some years ago when I lived in California, Northern California, I actually found lion's mane growing wildly.
Oh yeah.
So we
Mhm.
harvested it and
Yeah.
we had, we ate it. It was pretty fantastic.
Yeah. We were at a class one time. Remember? I think that was in Kentucky, maybe.
Yeah.
And somebody had found a big giant lion's mane and they harvested it. We cooked it up and sauteed it up. And my God, that was so delicious. Yeah. There's places where you can buy it online, and you get it in a day or two or so usually we'll buy because it kind of looks like a brain, like a big giant brain. And so we'll get a couple of them and then saute them up and
They're
yeah.
good. They're
Mhm.
good. Well, thank you so much for
You're
this.
so
That's
welcome.
fantastic. Yes. Just the last one, for the main, Palo Santo and stuff, but which one would be the best for me, for example, if you can?
I kind of think hyssop or not hyssop, eucalyptus. I think eucalyptus would probably be good. Do it
Which
on
one?
like just globulus.
Oh,
I
okay.
mean, you could do radiata too, but like globulus would have a little bit more of a cleansing effect.
Because I'm using Eucalyptus citrodora with
Yeah, that
reishi.
one's not quite as cleansing.
As
It's more anti-inflammatory. Yeah.
okay, I use it
Yeah.
in a blue tonic,
Yeah.
body tonic, blue tonic.
Oh yeah, that's a really good body tonic.
Yeah. Yeah.
That I have that in a bottle. I use it in
The
a.
one you made.
Oh yeah. 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 That's a
So I
super
use
good one.
that. I use that in a body tonic. So I
Yeah.
do quite a lot. So that
Samantha
doesn't.
really likes that one.
Yeah.
Yes, me too. Me too. I
Yeah.
like them all. Thank you so much,
You're
Greg.
so
And then we have some chat questions as
Mhm.
well. And then guys, if you have other questions, you can raise your hand in the chat or type in. My wife had a root canal last week. She finished the antibiotics they gave her. She and her acupuncturist are concerned that there may still be some infection present. Is there an internal or topical protocol that she can do with essential oils that will overcome any infection?
I would say like a drop or two of clove in water and then like do a lot of like swishing around. You could put a little bit of clove on a Q-tip and then dab it on the site. That could be helpful. It will burn a little bit. It will tingle a little bit. If you don't want to use clove, you could probably get away with tea tree. It wouldn't be quite as potent. The thing, if there's some pain there, the clove would be a little bit of a better choice, but tea tree would also work. And then internally, I would do like echinacea, some echinacea internally would be very good for any sort of infection in that area. The other one that you could use would be red clover, but the echinacea would probably get it. Yeah.
And just so it's clear, the echinacea and the red clover are not essential oils,
Yeah, they're
but we have them.
tinctures. Yeah. Sorry, they're both tinctures. Apologies there.
And then someone's wondering when you were talking to Donita about the hyssop and the Ming Ming, what would be the best application? Like, are you inhaling on the Ming
Yeah,
Ming,
so you would be doing inhalation with your awareness on the Ming Men area. You could do the kidneys. Sometimes also we'll do the spine. In extreme cases, even the perineum. But sustained inhalation. If you do want to put a little bit of something on the Mingmen, I would probably put chakra root cleanser on there. If you don't have chakra root cleanser, like maybe a little bit of Palo Santo, and then just dab it right on that backside of the navel there. Yeah.
I have some spikenard extra. Not sure if it's the same as spikenard in terms of healing properties.
Spikenard Extra is got some, like, it has mandarin and a couple other things in it. And so it is made to be a bit more of an antispasmodic, a way to treat tension and spasms in the body. And so I think I originally made it for treating things in the neck and shoulders. You could use it anywhere in the body, but that's just what I formulated for that particular area. And so I find it to be quite effective. Spikenard by itself will be very antispasmodic and reduce contractures, but I added other things that also had an antispasmodic quality to it. That I tried to enhance that property in the spikenard for those kind of topical things. Spikenard by itself, if you're trying to reduce the stress response, would probably be a little bit better than the spikenard extra. And then the energetic effect of cleaning the aura, rubbing spikenard on the feet would be better spikenard by itself. So the spikenard extra is more about reducing the spasms and things in the body. Yeah.
Thank you. Could pain relief psychogenic be taken internally in a tincture?
The tincture of it has arnica, and so I would not take arnica. Like there is it was the psychogenic, right?
Yeah,
Yeah. So there I do make an herbal version of the psychogenic pain relief. But in the tincture, it has arnica, and so it's more of a topical thing. Internally, with the essential oil, let me look up to see what's in there. Give me just a second here. Yeah, you could take the essential oil, the blend internally.
What's in it?
It's helichrysum, Roman chamomile, Cape chamomile, vetiver, ginger, juniper, basil, marjoram, premium frankincense, rosemary, and St. John's wort.
Would it have the kind of pain relieving effect?
I haven't used it internally very much, so I would have to play with it. I mean, in theory, probably. I mean, a lot of times when I'm dealing with like some sort of pain issue, like I would use galbanum to like augment whatever the pain blend was. And so that could be topical or internal, but in theory it should be helpful. I can't say I have a bunch of experience with it, so I would only be guessing. And so I can play with it. Like I can start using it tonight and see what the next week brings. Maybe next Tuesday I might have a better answer for you. In theory, it should work, but I've always just used it as an inhalation or topical. Yeah.
Question, if one is at bone on bone at the hip, is there an effective pain reliever?
So the thing with bone on the hip, you are going to have to consistently treat that because it's not a situation that can be resolved because it is bone on bone. And so more action, more activity is going to irritate that area. So the thing that I would say is a couple of things. So galbanum on the wrist, like 2-3 drops or internal. Black cumin, also taken internal, like, 3 or 4 drops or a couple of dropperfuls of the tincture. That's to help right off the bat. And then topically, I would put joint relief on that area in the form of an ointment. And if you do that on a pretty regular basis, it does make it more manageable. The other thing that you might want to think about adding to something like that is the old school traditional thing to use for bone on bone in the hip was blue flag. And that's not an essential oil. That is a tincture, but it highly stimulates lymphatic movement. And the thing that they say about blue flag is it generates like spontaneous lymphatic movement. And the thing with it being bone on that hip is that's generated a lot of inflammatory material, and the lymphatic system is usually very stagnant in that area. Even when you get it moving, because of the movement where it's bone on bone, it just kind of keeps going back to that. So the more that you manage the inflammation and the circulation and the lymphatic movement in that area, it keeps it relatively localized. It does reduce the pain, but it keeps that inflammatory material from becoming systemic and going to other parts of the body. That is the issue with like hip being bone on bone, is that over a period of time, if you just push through, eventually that inflammation or that inflammatory material starts to settle in other parts of the body. And then old injuries or your shoulder or your feet or your jaws, everything just starts hurting and aching. And so you can always rotate it, the joint relief, where there's an osteoarthritis blend. I usually start with joint relief, but kind of throwing different things at it can be very helpful. But I've had people go a very long time using this kind of approach, like more than a decade. I've had people where they were bone on bone and they went more than a decade before they ended up having a surgery, or they just never had the surgery. But I would say you also got a, common approach to like when something is bothering you, go, oh, we got to make the body strong, like reducing movement with the legs, especially that leg, so, don't go for long walks or hikes or things like that. It will just make everything better. If you want to exercise it, do things in like a pool or something like that where it's not weight bearing. The issue with it being bone on bone is it's a weight bearing joint, and that's part of why that became bone on bone, is there was some abnormality in that socket, and because it was weight bearing, it just ended up grinding down that cartilage. And it could also be that there was a very bad spasm in and around that hip and hip socket. So the idea of putting the joint relief and osteoarthritis on those areas is it does reduce some of the spasms in that area, that allows for blood to come in and to leave, and so it makes that joint a bit less toxic. And so, try that. If you need help, like kind of, if you follow kind of what we said, that you like here, that should be a good protocol. But if you need us to write it out for you or something like that, I can write it out. It's probably already written out somewhere, but it's been so long I couldn't say why, but I could write it out real quick for you.
Greg, this is Denise.
Hey.
Yeah, she postponed that surgery. She just didn't want to go through with it yet, but she's in a little bit more pain, and she was hoping a cortisone shot, but they told her there was really nothing that the cortisone shot might help. There's nothing for it to like adhere to, right?
Yeah.
So
I mean, it becomes like when it gets pretty bad, it's about lymphatic movement, circulation, and reducing spasms. Like it really just becomes about that. And it's a daily thing. There's no like skipping a day for it,
I'll maybe send Sam a message just asking her what area this would be in the
Yeah, I
YouTube,
noted the time, so hopefully you'll be able to go to it pretty
because I
easily.
wanted to have her hear it, you know, and if she,
Yeah.
yeah. But she did say the pain's been increasing more recently.
Yeah.
But
The other thing with when that starts getting bad too, and the pain starts increasing, is the quality of sleep starts going down. And so even the lack of sleep starts contributing to the pain. So, you want to calm all those things down, but like even the next phase is then like try to deepen the sleep or try to get them to get more sleep, not just relaxation, but like deep sleep. And it does help. I mean, nothing's going to make it go away, but it becomes more easily managed. But I get it. It's a scary surgery and everything. I mean, it's a surgery that they got down, though, I will say. Um, they really have that down and people recover quite quickly. But at the same time, it's a scary surgery.
thank you. I appreciate it. I can tell that she's getting tired from all this, but
Yeah.
she's so determined she wants to move, but that means selling the house, and
Yeah.
there is a house to go to, but it's a huge project,
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
And she's going to have 8 weeks of like trying to, like if she were to have the surgery right now, she would be walking, the week of the surgery. Usually within about a week to 2 weeks, they're walking over a mile, and they're, it
Wow.
depends on the kind of surgery, front, side, or they go from the back. They all have their different recovery rates, but still, it's a thing for about 6, 8 weeks. Yeah,
Thank you very
yeah,
much.
you're so welcome.
I think she'll really appreciate it. Thank you.
A quick question came in. Can you take blue flag if kidneys are not working great?
Yeah. It's an herb, so it's a tincture. So, yeah, it should be okay on the kidneys. Yeah.
Well, those were great questions and everything today, guys. I looked, I think I got all of them, but if I missed any of your questions, please bring it to my attention now. We have another minute before we need to jump right over, so.
And thanks for all the emails that came in from the weekend. Like, lots of positive stories and good stories about things that happened through the weekend. So,
And we have a whole plan for what we're going to do with the systems. Greg's going to keep bringing out some really good information and connecting, like how to really utilize and optimize using the oils per system. And we're going to get that information up on the site as well.
yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be a few months from now, but as he unfolds the different classes, but I'm very excited. It's going to be really useful for you guys.
When you sit for those of you that see the booklet for the angel class that's coming up this next week, and you can see where all my time went. Yeah.
All right, I think we're probably at about time to jump over to the
We're going to do the Astara prayer petition blessing, which is like a little meditation and blessing and a way to generate a little good karma and help some other people. And so we're posting the link, and join us if you can. It's just about a 15-minute little process. And the study group tomorrow night is open to everybody because it was a free event on the weekend, and so it was the systems class for nervous system, muscular, and the skin. So we'll be doing a little bit more Q&A then, and then maybe a process. So hopefully you can join us.